even more damage paired with that Venusaur, and also some tech cards like a Lurantis or Tapu Bulu. He's really made like this whole thing shine, pardon the pun, but
Yeah, so on Harrison's side, like you said, we do have that Venusaur deck. Pretty interesting. We saw it play on camera once yesterday versus Greninja, unfortunately, which not exactly a great matchup. It's Harrison on your screen now. Then on your left, we do have Andrew Mahone, St. Louis regional champion in 2015, I believe. Has had a pretty good season. Was one of the top seeds going into this tournament. It looks like both players are set up, so we're going to get started here pretty soon. Andrew is playing the Lycanroc Buzzwole deck that we just talked about. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the prizes as players finish setting up. We're going to go ahead and take a look at Andrew's.
all right, there's a strong energy in the prizes.
And an Octillery.
And Octillery, he does play, or should play at least the 2-2.
Yeah, I think most lists are playing the 2s. Hopefully that won't hurt him too badly. One Venusaur prized for Harrison, but nothing else really of note.
There's a card we don't really see in her Revitalizer.
Yeah, Revitalizer used to haunt people's dreams with Vileplume and Forest of Giant Plants in play, but don't really see that card too much anymore. And players are ready. Looks like Harrison is going to go first.
All right,
Bulbasaur on the bench.
Bulbasaur, attach a grass energy to the Tapu Lele. Max Elixir. Granted, he can only attach it to the Bulbasaur, but thanks to Shining Genesect, it's able to move energy to itself. So really, it's just a free attachment later on in the game.
Awesome. Love it, love it.
Yeah, that energy reload ability makes Max Elixir
So I think it's a fair ride,
just perfectly fine to just put basically wherever.
That's reasonable, I guess.
Since you probably haven't seen too much of this deck unless you were watching that specific match yesterday, what Harrison's trying to do is set up a Venusaur, and the jungle totem ability will make all of his grass energy into 2 grass energy.
Yeah, it's an insane ability. We've seen it a few times in the Pokemon TCG past, but it's never really been something that impressive, at least in the few formats. And Harrison's really showing, like, guys, Venusaur's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, he's made day 2 top 35 players out of around 1,000 at this tournament. He's doing pretty well so far, sitting here at 8-1-2. I would bet he's the only Venusaur player, and was the only Venusaur player in the entire tournament in day 1. So he's really showing that this deck might be the real deal.
And he did draw the Shining Genesect from the end and energy reload, moving the energy from the Bulbasaur to itself.
Yeah.
So now he's looking pretty good. His hand does have a few supporters, couple energy. If he can somehow draw into a Venusaur, that'd be even better because he has the Skyla in hand for a rare candy.
And we see Andrew taking a look at that Genesect. Not a card that most people have seen. Again, not really hasn't been too relevant in the meta game. Just wants to make sure he knows what's going on, especially when your opponent starts moving energy around the board. Want to make sure exactly what's going on.
Yeah, and Andrew just played one card that we didn't really talk about in the deck analysis, but is one of the most important cards in this Buzzwole Lycanroc deck. That's Brooklet Hill. It's able to search your deck for a fighting or a water basic Pokemon and put it on your bench. And guess what? Almost all his basics are water or fighting.
Yeah, just kind of a free Pokemon every turn. Has to be a basic, but again, it doesn't cost you anything. It's just a stadium out there.
And we also see a card that's not really being played that much in Zygarde EX in Andrew's hand as well. A card that kind of does a little bit more damage. One fighting energy does 20 more if there's a stadium in play. So the damage really starts to add up with these strong energy, with Regirock, and with Choice Band as well.
Yeah, Zygarde EX, not a choice that every Buzzwole player makes, but it looks like Andrew has decided that it is worth it here.
Unfortunately, in this matchup, it is weak to grass, and Harrison's whole deck is grass.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see it hitting the board here. It's just going to get owned, but I'll be interested to see if that has helped Andrew out throughout the rest of the tournament.
And Andrew's start is doing all right. He does not have any rock rough down, but again, you kind of don't really want that in that matchup. It's just free prizes for Harrison with half your deck being weak to grass. So he will really be all in on these Buzzwall GXs.
We see a Floatstone on the active Tapu Lele. And now I think Andrew is just deciding whether to retreat and Jet Punch here, add some damage to the board, kind of calculating what can happen.
There we see the Jet Punch, 60 to the active thanks to Choice Band, and 30 on the Shining Genesect. Harrison now really needs to start getting his Venusaur set up, and unfortunately, thanks to the N, he doesn't have some of the cards he had before. It does look like he drew a Max Elixir for the turn.
Yeah.
And he is choosing to Brooklet Hill, making sure to see what's in his deck. Of course, both players can use it, even if you don't have any fighting or water Pokemon. But thankfully for Harrison, he has Remoraid in his deck.
Yeah, he actually has I think a 1/1 line of Octillery.
Man,
so he is able to just
that's really good for him, too, because he needs to get Octillery out.
Yeah, again, it's just totally free. It's not even his stadium. He just gets to use it, find the Remoraid, and get one step closer.
And again, one card that Harrison's also playing that I think you guys should be on the lookout for is Wishful Baton. It's a tool card that we don't really see that often, but if it's attached to a Pokemon that gets knocked out, you can move up to 3 basic energy from that Pokemon to a Pokemon on your bench.
Yeah, kind of like a super EXP share, you can say. Also, it's really important to note that even if you're not moving, well, if you do move 3, you're actually moving 6 with a Venusaur in play and with Jungle Totem active. But even if you're moving, 1 energy, it just becomes 2 with Venusaur. It's just so much more powerful. So really interesting kind of non-common, kind of uncommon deck building strategy here from Harrison.
And he does hit off the Max Elixir, and he still has not attached for the turn either. So if he chooses to, he can attack with this Shining Genesect. It'll be interesting to see what line he decides to go with. He still has not played his supporter for the turn, and we do see an N in his hand.
Third energy on to that Genesect here. Getting ready to Gaia Blaster.
And Gaia Blaster, reminiscent of attacks like Secret Sword from Keldeo, except this is the grass version. So 50 plus 20 for every grass energy attached to Shining Genesect, meaning 110 damage coming down. This Buzzwall is in danger of getting knocked out, especially since the Shining Genesect does not boost the Choice Band on the Buzzwall.
Yeah, just a non-EX Pokemon. 130 hit points. You see Andrew getting another Buzzwall out with that Brooklet Hill, just kind of realizing, oh man, this guy's probably getting knocked out pretty soon.
Yeah, that's one thing we've seen with these Buzzwall decks is you kind of, if you want to take these early knockouts, you kind of overcommit to your active, right?
Yeah, we've definitely seen, I think a theme in the Buzzwall Lycanroc decks has been kind of how can you manage your energy? Can you put, 1 energy with a Max Elixir and attach on the first turn, so you can have 2 on 2 different Pokemon, and then kind of how do you play with realizing that Buzzwall is a really aggressive Pokemon. Jet Punch is a great attack, but it doesn't actually get knockouts very often. And in order to get those knockouts, you have to commit a few more energy.
And there's the Max Elixir from Andrew. He is able to start charging up that Buzzwall on the bench.
Yeah, it's this situation where this is a good position for Andrew to be in. It's kind of, the Max Elixir was free there, so that just gets attached. He can attach the basic fighting in his hand to the bench Buzzwall as well, and be ready to do some more damage next turn.
Yeah, Knuckle Impact would be pretty important in this matchup. It would allow him to one-hit knock out any Shining Genesect that Harrison chooses to attack with. And there we see a Sycamore drawing a brand new 7 cards. There's another Max Elixir. I think there might be a couple, honestly. Yeah, there is, wow.
So this would actually be a good spot because, or a good draw for Andrew because of the 3 energy requirements on Buzzwole. It's really nice to just have as many energy on the board as possible. And if Andrew can get into a position here where he can have a 3rd energy attached by a Max Elixir to that Buzzwole, or even just onto a onto a benched one and then maybe attach a strong next turn. Just any way that he can kind of be able to make sure he can reload. He does not want to be in a position where he gets a Pokemon knocked out down the line and he has no energy on board.
And I think he might be deciding to hold on to these Max Elixirs and just
30,
using
and I'll do,
Jet Punch for 30 and a 30 onto a bench Pokemon.
30
Yeah, he's going to be able to attach that strong to the Buzzwole on the bench once this active one gets knocked out anyway. So he's just kind of deciding that he wants to save the Max Elixir for if anything changes. He finds another Buzzwole with the Brooklet Hill. Just might as well not play it now. Interestingly, Andrew has attacked twice with Jet Punch and has not put the damage on the Bulbasaur either time. And interesting because I think his idea is like, okay, well, he's just gonna rare candy it, right? I don't want to get punished. Like, I'm not gonna be able to hit this Venusaur. Like, I want to put him on this Pokemon that matter more. But you know, as it turns out, if he had just committed to it, Harrison got a little bit unlucky, did not find the evolution, and he would have been off Bulbasaur for this turn.
Yeah, and Andrew did have access next turn to Strong Energy Regirock to knock out the Shining Genesect, but with this end, it kind of dampers his plans a little bit. He could still search out the Regirock EX with Brooklet Hill, but he would need to draw a Strong Energy again.
Correct. So we'll see. Both players going to 6 cards here. Andrew doesn't like that would be a great play.
Yeah.
But overall, he's just happy to draw a reasonable hand and kind of keep executing his game plan, whereas Harrison is just trying to find a Venusaur here, trying to find a backup attacker.
And speaking of finding Venusaur, I see Rare Candy and Ultra Ball. I think we'll see a Venusaur this turn.
Yeah, I think he just has to get it out. It makes your life so much easier, makes every game so much easier once you have the Venusaur out.
And there's the Wishful Baton. Of course, Andrew having to read it. It's not a card that's really played at all, but it's a card that is pretty amazing right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Andrew had just never read that card anymore, or in the past. Like, these competitive players should kind of keep up on what the cards do, of course, but I think there's a lot of times where you just kind of, you read a card once and you're like, oh yeah, this card does something with energy. I don't really know. It's not very good.
Yeah.
All right, so there's the Ultra Ball for the Big Daddy Venusaur. Rare Candy, he is coming out, and that will boost Genesect's damage from 110 to a lot more.
Yeah, it would be really nice if Harrison can hit a backup attacker here, because that baton is going to attach. It can't attach to anything, obviously, but he doesn't really have another Genesect. Like, another Genesect on board that can just he can just baton onto once this one gets knocked out would have been amazing.
Yeah. All right, and there's the knockout. Andrew promotes the Tapu Lele with the Float Stone, so he will have a few options for his turn right now. We do see he has a few energy, a Max Elixir, and he can go get another attacker with Brooklet Hill, but that Wishful Baton is really hurting him right now.
Yeah, this is another thing to point out, is that Wishful Baton, Venusaur makes Tapu Lele a much more powerful attacker, as it's going to double all those energy. So Energy Drive is already a reasonable attack. We see plenty of Energy Drives on stream, but it just becomes that much better with Venusaur doubling all the energy.
Like, Energy Drive when you have 8 energies, a lot better than just like 4.
Correct.
Give me one more in me.
All right, there we see the Rockruff hitting the bench.
Getting Brooklet Hill out there. We do see that strong energy.
And with the way he did it, without having the Regirock, he will have to either Absorption, GX, or Knuckle Impact to take the knockout on the Genesect. But no, he is Guzmaing the Venusaur to Knuckle Impact or Absorption for the knockout.
Well, he's already retreated this turn, hasn't he?
No, he has not. He had the Lele active.
Oh, I see. Sorry. Yeah, excuse me. Going back to what you said earlier, he would have actually needed a... he wouldn't have actually been able to get the knockout on Genesect, right? Because he would have been...
Well, with the Jet Punch, no, but other attacks, yeah.
So it looks like he's just going to go ahead and take this knockout on this Venusaur here.
So this is kind of like a concession to where, man, I should have Jet Punched earlier. but I'll take the knockout here anyway.
I mean, it's fine. Like, your opponent doesn't have a Bulbasaur on the board. He's at least a turn off of getting another Venusaur. You're putting his Genesect back to just doing very little damage.
And there we see the Knuckle Impact for the knockout, meaning Buzzwole won't be able to attack next turn unless a Guzma or something else comes down.
Another factor as we look at Andrew just taking that single prize there is that I think everything in Harrison's deck besides a Tapu Lele's are one single...
well, I believe there's Lurantis and Bulu, but...
oh, sorry, there is Lurantis. There's no Bulu.
There's no Bulu.
There's no Bulu. But there's Lurantis. But either way, Andrew's going to be taking a lot of one prize knockouts. Genesect is kind of the main attacker that I've seen Harrison use throughout this tournament. So it is going to make it a lot harder when you're trading.
And this Field Blower from Harrison is pretty important. Getting rid of the Brooklet Hill, kind of shutting off the free Pokemon that Andrew's been getting every turn.
Now we see a Mallow from Harrison. This is normally a card that we'll see paired well with Zoroark GX, as you can just stack 2 on top and then trade, but Octillery serves a very similar role. I think Andrew has 2 cards in hand, so he'll be able to draw with Abyssal Hand whatever 2 cards he would like and an extra random one. I'll be interested to see what he puts on top here. I don't know what he has in hand, but he definitely needs to get a way to find Venusaur, and it looks like he's actually considering putting Bulbasaur Red Candy on top. This deck does not really function well without the Venusaur. Secret Sword-like attacks, such as Gaia Blaster, are fine. You know, he's doing 120, or sorry, 110. But it's not, the Venusaur is what pushes the deck over the top, and not having one in play is just makes your deck so much worse.
Exactly, and we see he does have the Venusaur in hand, but there's no real backup attacker for Harrison, and we already know his top 2 cards. It'll be interesting to see what the last card is he draws. It is a Wishful Baton, so not really helpful.
Yeah, there, the Bulbasaur hits the bench. He has the Rare Candy in his hand. Didn't see if he had an out to Venusaur.
Well, he has the Venusaur in hand.
Oh, he has the Venusaur in hand? Okay, well.
So, unfortunately, thanks to Rare Candy's errata, you can't Rare Candy the Venusaur right now. He'll have to wait a turn.
Yeah, this is in 2010, folks. So that Max Elixir energy finds its way onto a Tapu Lele.
Gaia Blaster for 110.
All right, and then we see the Gaia Blaster for 110 damage. And remember, thanks to Knuckle Impact last turn, this Buzzwole GX will not be able to attack unless something happens. Andrew does have Ultra Ball in his hand. He could be eyeing down an Octillery, which would be something that would help smooth out his draws for the rest of the game. He could also think about maybe a Tapu Lele, trying to get like a Guzma so he can attack.
Yeah, sending that Buzzwole to the bench will turn off that effect, so the Buzzwole will be able to attack again. With that being said,
he's there.
a lot of damage on that Buzzwole. Definitely leaving it in the active position to attack definitely opens up Andrew to getting knocked out.
All right, Octillery comes down for Andrew. He will be able to Abyssal Hand if he chooses to. He also has a Sycamore in his hand, but he could Abyssal Hand into the Guzma.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Andrew does here. I think he has 2 cards in hand?
Yeah.
Maybe 3, so he'll be able to draw off this Abyssal Hand and go from there.
All right, energy on the Rockruff, threatening that dangerous Rogue GX too.
Okay.
And Abyssal Hand for 4. He drew a Lycanroc, but other than that, Sycamore is maybe a Choice Band, yeah.
I think he does have the Lycanroc in hand. He drew an Ultra Ball as well. I think he'll be interested to see what he does here, because he can't attack without moving this Buzzwole. He can Bloodthirsty Eyes down the Bulbasaur, and kind of he knows that he doesn't know this for sure, but Andrew has a good idea that one of the cards that Harrison took with the Mallow was going to be some kind of way to get Venusaur out, so can leave Harrison hand not great. Looks like an Ultra Ball is going to find a Rock Ruff.
Yeah, and with Andrew's deck, he actually only plays the 2 Tapu Lele, so that was never really an out for him. He really needed to draw the Guzma with that Abyssal hand. So he might be forced to retreat this Buzzwole, and that's not something you want to do.
Yeah,
That's a lot of energy.
Taking a look through his discard
Bloodthirsty
pile.
Eyes,
Looks like
Tapu
he's
Lele.
going to go ahead and Bloodthirsty Eyes the Tapu Lele. Maybe use this time to...
And then Sycamore.
All right, there's the Sycamore.
What? Oh, okay, you're good. You're good.
He hasn't played support yet this
I just wanted to
turn.
make sure
All
there
right,
was no previous
drawing a
supporter.
brand new hand of 7. There's the Field Blower for the Wishful Baton. That might be big in the upcoming turns.
Yeah, that seems really good just to turn off that ability, Harrison's ability to just keep energy flowing. Didn't see a Floatstone or any way to move the Buzzwole.
No, unfortunately not. There's the Guzma, but he played the Sycamore to get it. So
Did I attach here
unfortunately,
for turn? Yes, sir. Okay.
if he wants to attack this turn, he will have to retreat the Buzzwole.
Yeah, I imagine we're going to see a retreat, getting rid of the 2 basic fighting and then a dangerous rogue. He's actually considering, so he can dangerous rogue for the knockout here. Yeah, so it looks like he's what he's going to do. I think maybe he was considering just bringing up the Tapu Lele, but that doesn't really get you anywhere.
Especially since you brought up the Tapu Lele.
Yeah, he just needs to.
Field blower here.
And he
thanks to
chooses to
Field
Field Blower now, kind of conceding, well, I need this Wishful Baton off the field. If you end it
Dangerous
away,
rogue,
there's no
yeah,
chance I'll
knockout.
draw it again kind of thing.
Yeah, Andrew's accepting that his opponent very likely has Venusaur in hand and is going to be able to knock out this.
And thankfully
Rock
for
pretty
Andrew,
easily.
with his 2 prizes that he took, he did get 2 energy.
line
But
of 5.
Harrison, on the
Wow.
other hand,
He's
drops
going
another
off.
Wishful Baton, Rare Candy, the Venusaur, Abyssal Hand for a brand new hand of 5. What a turn right now, and it's still going.
Yeah, I was going to say, all he needs now is to have a backup attacker that Wishful Baton can target, and he does. He has another Shining Genesect.
Shining Genesect on the bench. He could energy reload to it. He still has a supporter to play for the turn. His options between Skyla and Sycamore.
Energy reload.
Yeah.
And he's going to take 2 prizes this turn.
Yeah, thanks to Lycanroc being weak to grass. And that leaves the lone Buzzwole with energy, which already has 110 damage on it.
Yeah, not a great place to be if you were Andrew, staring down an opponent with
I'll use Sky Blaster for the
his
knockout.
Yeah.
combo in play, 2 prizes remaining.
Go.
You have 3 left, and it's only non-EXs on the board. I
Right,
don't know
let's
if
see
Andrew
what
can
Andrew can
crawl his
do.
way out of this.
He has a really big hand, but a lot of it's not good right now in this matchup.
Who's here?
He has that Zygarde, which is still weak to grass. And these Genesects are doing so much damage right now, thanks to the Jungle Totem from Venusaur. And there is the
Yeah, he's
concession
just
from
gonna go ahead and
Andrew.
Scoop him up. Andrew just saw that he couldn't reasonably win. Again, he had to take 3 prizes. He had to take 3 knockouts. Not just 3 prizes, but 3 actual
I love how
knockouts.
that's for 2 energies and it
because
does so much damage.
Harrison's
It's
a
so
Pokemon were all
insane.
non-EXs. He has the Venusaur up. Andrew didn't really have a way of dealing with Venusaur.
that's turned around so
Even
many
if he
of your
knocked
matchups,
out the
like-
Shining Genesect, Wishful
Like,
Baton
even
was
if
going to
Zoroark
move all
has
his
2
energy to the
Pokemon on
bench
you're just like,
Genesect.
oh,
He was just in a
Crazy.
really bad position. I actually wonder
Yeah.
if he should have
Oh my
scooped
God.
a little
Everyone's, like,
earlier.
ragging on it.
Yeah,
20
All
minutes
this
have gone
hard
by.
stuff. I'm like, no, it's
Andrew was in it
It's
until
such a
that
simple
last
keeper,
turn. Like
you
he
know?
didn't know his opponent had like
Everything.
Venusaur for the knockout. It's not clear that should have happened, but he's definitely down a game with maybe not enough time to finish the series. We'll see. But I do think that at that point he needed to concede. He could have played that game out for 5 more minutes, a couple more turns. Like it wasn't guaranteed that Harrison was going to be able to take a knockout on the next turn, but definitely the right time for Andrew to concede. And
Yeah.
hopefully he can get a little. I don't even know. He had a fine start. I was going to say hopefully he can get a better start, but he even had a fine start last game. It's just that one of the problems with the Buzzwole deck, and mind you, the Venusaur matchup doesn't come up a whole lot, right? But one of the problems is that it's not great in the later game, right? It's really aggressive in first. You can even take once you can attack, you can knock out small basic Pokemon. You can put a lot of early pressure on. But if your opponent can kind of stabilize in the mid to late game, I found that it can be very difficult for the Buzzwole deck to really do anything because of those heavy energy requirements.
Yeah, it's one of those decks where you put all your eggs in one basket, and like, okay, I hope this is good enough. Please don't do anything else.
2 Guzma prized and a Buzzwole.
That's actually pretty big because of Knuckle Impact from Buzzwole.
And 2 Sycamore and a Rare Candy prize. Nothing
too bad.
Although that Sycamore could really cost him, though. Those are 2 prizes he's not going to draw until late, like the last 2. So it could mess with his consistency, but we are off. Game 2.
All right, Andrew starting with the Brooklet Hill again. And he already has a Buzzwole on the bench and a Remoraid as his starter. So he really has the access to the Pokemon he wants. He has an Ultra Ball in hand, so he has access to a Lele as well. Decides to get that Rockruff. Bloodthirsty Eyes definitely going to come up huge, trying to take down these Venusaurs.
Yeah, Andrew just realizing that although similar to when you play Zoroark versus a fighting deck, you have to just say, okay, well, this Lycanroc is going to get knocked out if I play. My opponent's going to take 2 prizes very easily, but Bloodthirsty Eyes is so powerful that I want to at least give myself access to that, and he can orchestrate a turn like he did last game where he can go, oh, Bloodthirsty Eyes, Dangerous Rogue, and then, okay, that's a fine trade. I've taken 2 prizes with it. You know, I've done some stuff, now you can too.
And he actually chooses to conserve the cards in his hand because it's a Lycanroc and I'm not sure on the other one, but a Choice Band. So those are 2 cards that the Choice Band, not really, but he really doesn't want to discard that Lycanroc with the Ultra Ball.
Yeah, he played the Rockruff for a reason. Also gives him the ability to play the Ultra Ball next turn, and after he's drawn 1 more card and kind of decide like what he wants to discard. He'll probably have to find a Lele for a supporter.
Yeah, and again, Harrison taking advantage of Andrew's Brooklet Hill to get out his Remoraid for Octillery, a card that really shined last game for Harrison, being able to use it in combination with Mallow to get that Venusaur set up so quickly after it was knocked out.
So, Brooklet Hill for Harrison, providing some value there.
Remoraid does come down, and I didn't really get a good look at Harrison's hand to see what he has.
Yeah, I didn't see at all what he had, but shuffling here tells me he doesn't have an N. I also apologize. I thought Bulbasaur had 60 hit points. That's why I made that remark earlier about Andrew jet punching to it, but he actually has 70.
Oh, really?
He's a big guy, yeah. So that makes a lot more sense.
He's a big boy.
Yeah.
All right, Grass Energy on the Bulbasaur. We see he has the Shining Genesect in hand, but does not want it to get hit by Jet Punch. So he's really just keeping it and like, okay, next turn, I'll still energy reload to it. It'll be fine. And I just want to keep it as fresh as possible.
Yeah, and just putting the energy on this Bulbasaur does, I guess, run some risk with something like 2 Regirock and a strong energy knockout. As again, that 70 hit points is big. But Harrison does have Ultra Ball Rare Candy in hand as well.
Yeah, he's kind of doing that old play that Blastoise Keldeo players used to do back in the day where, all right, I have Rare Candy Blastoise in hand. I'll just pass, and you'll think I have just a bad hand and not end me. And the next turn, I go off.
And also at this point, he knows that the Bulbasaur is not likely to get knocked out anyway, and the Remoraid is a perfectly fine target, so Andrew is fine doing something like what he did, which is just like, I'm just going to knock out this Remoraid. I don't want my opponent to have access to Octillery next turn, which is also very powerful. It does genuinely cut him off of being able to draw extra cards, which he definitely needs in the mid to late game.
Exactly. It makes that Mallow in his hand a little bit worse for him. And thanks to Brooklet Hill, Regirock EX does hit the bench, adding 10 more damage to all his fighting Pokemon's attacks. And there's the strong energy. Jet Punch will be doing 60 damage to the active Remoraid. Even in an Octillery to evolve the Remoraid active, Andrew really is getting the cards he needs this game.
Yeah, great opening hand. Great turn, finishing it off with a Parallel City, reducing Harrison's bench size to just 3.
All right, I like this Parallel City a lot because it gets rid of the Brooklet Hill. So if Harrison did have another Remoraid in his deck, he won't be able to search for it, really cutting his opponent off of any resources.
Yeah, I think it's also just totally a reasonable card here. Like he wants Harrison needs to have a Venusaur in play at all times. That's one bench spot. If he plays a Tapu Lele, that's another, and then he can have a backup attacker. So he want to make sure that he doesn't flood his bench too much. It's not the optimal play exactly when your opponent has an empty bench and kind of play around it.
But here we see, oh, it was an Ivysaur in his hand. He didn't have the Venusaur, and he's forced to Ultra Ball for maybe even just a Tapu Lele to try to get something going in his hand instead of the Venusaur.
Yeah, and this is showing how important getting that knock on the Remoraid was, is that Ultra Ball likely would have turned into a Octillery, and then Mallow could have just stacked his deck to find the
that would have been
missing
perfect.
pieces he was needing, but now he's forced to take a slower route and Ultra Ball, but very likely, like I said, as for a Lele.
And remember, as our casters said before, during the Venusaur matchup yesterday, Ivysaur has 4 retreat cost.
Yeah, not something you would expect, but Kyle Sukovich updated us all on that. So this Ivysaur is not getting out of the active position anytime soon.
At least not with a little help like Floatstone.
Yeah.
All right, but there's the Ultra Ball for the Tapu Lele, and you see him actually discarding the Mallow and the Ricani. Andrew sees that as like, I knew I made the right play last turn, yeah. All right, and there is the Sycamore from the Wonder Tag. Harrison will draw a new hand of 7.
It's going to need, hopefully, another Bulbasaur to make sure he can threaten a Venusaur next turn. That's all he can do, though, because of the... he actually can't... Yeah, so...
And wow, yeah, Parallel City coming in pretty big right now. He has the Fomantis down, but no backup Bulbasaur. So this Ivysaur is being threatened to get knocked out if Andrew can find another energy.
Yeah, and again, didn't actually... Oh, he's going against Seed? Yeah, okay. I think he's just kind of seeing the writing on the wall there. The Ivysaur is going to get knocked out. He doesn't have another way to get Venusaur next turn. And he has 1 energy on the board. He's just going to get buried. And again, very intelligently realizing that there is 18 minutes or something left in this round. And if they want to play another game, he needs to not drag it out, especially because Andrew's deck isn't exactly, he's going to take a knockout on the Ivysaur, but that's 1 prize, right? He doesn't want to waste another 10 minutes doing this and then not be able to finish the series.
Yeah, especially with his bench being limited. He really just ran out of options there at the end. And his deck does take a little time to set up. It takes a little bit more, and so he needs all the time he can for Game 3.
Absolutely.
It's a bit hard with this noise in your ears. It really is.
So going forward, do you think he should just do the same strategy?
I think so. I think that on Harrison's side, he needs to commit to finding a Venusaur as early as possible. And something I would like to see is him to try to have more than 1 Bulbasaur in play. I think against this deck, it's really important. And then from Andrew's side, I think he's done basically everything right. Like, I don't think Andrew's made any real mistakes. He just...
going after that Remoraid was really good.
Yeah. I think that was very important. I think that he was going after the Bulbasaur in Game 1. And I think he just kind of has a pretty straightforward strategy.
And there we have a double mulligan from both players.
Yeah, both players are going to take another mulligan, or going to take their first mulligan, which this is going to eat some time off the clock, unfortunately, for both of them.
Yeah, and with Andrew going second, he might get a sneaky KO off of something like a Remoraid, thanks to Regirock and Strong Energy.
Yeah, getting a turn 1 win isn't really something that you've seen much anymore, but with this Buzzwole deck just attacking for 1, all those damage modifiers you have, it can definitely happen.
And that's what this deck has been capitalizing on all throughout this weekend, is its ability to outspeed the format. You really try to take advantage of these kind of sluggish stage 2 decks, or these Zoroark decks that have weakness and little basics, to where you can really take advantage.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're knocking out a Zoroark with a Jet Punch, or sorry, a Zorua with a Jet Punch. Jet Punch with a fighting, or wait, sorry, with a Strong Energy and a Regirock knocks out both Octillery's prized. Knocked out a Ralts is what I was going to say.
Oh, wow.
Both Octillery prized for Andrew is not a great spot to be. We've seen him rely pretty heavily on Octillery to get him through his deck in the mid game, and that's going to be an unfortunate turn of events for him.
Yeah, especially if this game does tend to go long, too. And Harrison on his second mulligan, trying to find a basic to try to get this game started. He's really running against the clock right now. I can only imagine if he played the second game a little bit more and then starts to do all these mulligans.
All right, so it looks like Harrison is going to start a Remoraid. He has found a basic. Andrew's going to draw his single mulligan after a discussion from the judge. All right, let's see the prizes here.
Looks like a Bridget in the prizes. I'm not sure if he plays the usual 2 or not.
All right, handshake, and we're off. Ultra Ball is going to be Harrison's first play here. The only thing that he can do. Getting rid of it looks like Max Elixir Grass. The only 3 cards in his hand.
He does play the 2 Bridget, though, so a Tapu Lele Wonder Tag for a Bridget would be the optimal start, especially kind of getting a lot of Pokemon in play, making it so he doesn't really get threatened of being benched this early on.
Yeah, just going, he does run the 2-2 Octillery, correct?
No, it's a 1-1.
It's 1-1, yeah. So going Tapu Lele, Bridget, Bulbasaur, Shining Genesect is probably where he wants to be. It'll be the first time in the match, I believe, that he gets 2 Bulbasaur.
No, he actually chooses the Fomantis. Something we haven't really seen used in this matchup yet was the Lurantis GX. Its ability to get more energy in play might help speed his deck up a little bit in this game where he only has just under 14 minutes to go.
Yeah, I think Lurantis is actually, in both of the matches that Harrison has played on camera, has been kind of underrepresented. I think Lurantis is great for this deck. It's just that he's running only a 1-1, so it's often been prized or just kind of hard to find.
Yeah, and its main utility is, I believe, that Chlorocythe GX attack, being able to do 50 damage for each grass energy attached to it, which really adds up with Jungle Totem from Venusaur. And there we see again the turn 1 Brooklet Hill, so important for Andrew. And he really didn't look through his deck for anything that was prized. He knows time is of the essence here.
Yeah, Andrew is very aware that he needs to play as quickly as he can without sacrificing making the correct play, of course.
And unfortunately for him, he did not get a strong energy on the Buzzwole, only a regular fighting, so there is no opportunity to try to knock out the Remoraid, and just plays an N for his supporter for the turn.
Yeah, something small that might come up as well is that he didn't do the most thorough search of his deck, so he might miss that both of his Octillery are prized. So he might, make a play where he tries to find a Remoraid or something, but hopefully he'll become aware of that before.
And one of the first cards Andrew draws off the end is the Floatstone, so he will be able to put that early game pressure. He also has the Regirock EX in his hand if he chooses to bench it. It's kind of, I don't know if it's really worth it right now, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's really any reason to. 30 versus 60 on a Remoraid doesn't really change much, and it's just a liability. Plus, there is something to be said for the surprise factor of maybe his opponent doesn't think about it and it hits the board and gets a knockout later in the game.
And we see Harrison's hand right now. He does have access to rare candy, but the only way he can really get Venusaur out is Skyla. Skyla searching for an Ultra Ball and then discarding even more resources might not be what he wants to do right now. And there is the Field Blower coming down, getting rid of that Brooklet Hill and the Float Stone, meaning Andrew will have to do a little bit more work to find his basics.
Yeah, no longer just getting a free basic every turn off the Brooklet Hill, unfortunately for Andrew.
And you see him setting aside cards. That's something some players do to plan out their turn. Those 2 cards are going to be discarded to Ultra Ball. So I believe we will see a Venusaur this turn, maybe even just an Octillery. It really depends what Harrison kind of prioritizes right now.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because you can't really leave yourself with just Venusaur and nothing.
Yeah.
Like, you really need to make sure that you can kind of back that up with something. But
he does have the Float Stone.
yeah, he's going to draw 4 cards here.
This will be pretty good. He has the rare candy in hand. If he draws the Venusaur, or even just the Lurantis, he's kind of deciding where to attach the energy. All right, so on the Genesect, if he draws the Venusaur, this will be amazing.
Here we go. 3, 4, 5.
He does not, but he does have an out. He has the Max Elixir that he drew. So if he hits a Grass Energy on this Max Elixir, Shining Genesect will be able to attack. And last card, no. Out of all the Grass Energy in his deck, he does not hit it off the Max Elixir. So really, Harrison won't be able to do much this turn.
Yeah, just going to move that energy over to the Genesect.
And this is hard because you saw last game he waited to bench the Shining Genesect because he didn't want a lot of damage onto it. But now he's kind of bringing it up to take a hit because everything else is so important to him.
Yeah, the problem with leaving that Octillery active is getting it knocked out is horrible, and putting it up to 60 damage and letting it kind of be knocked out for free with a Jet Punch later is not where you want to be either. So he's fine with letting the Shining Genesect take a little bit of damage.
And unfortunately, I think the Fomantis has 60 HP, right?
It does, yeah. So it's going to be knocked out this turn.
And there we go. The Bloodthirsty Eyes from Lycanroc. It might be deciding what he brings up. And there's the Bulbasaur. Now, I don't think, unless there's like a Professor Kukui, there might be a way to deal the 70 damage.
No, I think he's just hoping that he won't have a way to retreat the Bulbasaur or Venusaur if it gets to that.
And there is the Sycamore. Let's see what Andrew draws. Unfortunately, there's no strong energy to add damage. That would have been really great to put the 50 damage on the Bulbasaur to where if it gets retreated and not evolved next turn, then you could just knock it out later with another Jet Punch.
Yep, so there's a knockout on the Fomantis, 30 damage on the Bulbasaur. Second Bulbasaur hits the field. That's the third energy, so now Gaia Blaster is turned on.
And he does have the Guzma, so he will be able to target down the Lycanroc and take 2 prizes thanks to Lycanroc's weakness to grass.
Can he find a Venusaur off of this Abyssal hand? Does
No.
not look like it.
He keeps drawing these supporter cards, which he doesn't want to get rid of this rare candy in his hand. He really just needs a way to get the Venusaur. And there we see the Gaia Blaster taking the knockout.
The first 2 prizes for Harrison, putting him down to 4 prizes remaining with 7.5 minutes left in this round.
And looking at Harrison's hand, it is filled with N and Sycamores. He does have the Tapu Lele, so maybe he can try to Skyla later on. But he's really kind of getting off to a slow start this game, and there's only 7 minutes left.
Looks
Energy,
like Guzma.
yeah, energy comes down on the Buzzwall. Guzma the Bulbasaur on the bench that does not have damage. So again, he does not have access to strong energy, but he is building up this damage on these Bulbasaurs. And he draws the Skyla for the turn. He definitely has a lot of cards that he can discard to Ultra Ball as well.
Yeah, so that Skyla likely finds an Ultra Ball to find a Venusaur to go along with the rare candy already in his hand.
But unfortunately, with the way his hand is right now, he doesn't really have a way to get this Bulbasaur out of the active. And with his hand being so big and clunky full of supporters, Abyssal Hand is worthless.
Yeah, you're actually right. Sorry, I was under the impression he had an energy, so he could kind of turn it into 2 and retreat. But that's not the case. And even after, so let's see, he's gonna have 5 cards in hand after he does a Skyla Ultra Ball play, and the rare. So he's gonna have 4 because he's gonna be able to rare candy as well. So he'll be Abyssal Handing for 1.
Man, rolling dice all just for this one card to work out. And again, with time ticking down, 6 minutes left to go in the match, he really needs to put on pressure on these Buzzwoles that are finally starting to get charged up.
I think just guaranteeing yourself the Venusaur there may have been good just to have the Venusaur on board and accept, yeah, I'm not retreating this turn. This is not going to be great for me. You know, Andrew's going to be jump punching and setting up, but at least I kind of have this for the future turns. I don't need to worry about it anymore. I don't need my...
So we're seeing a play right now of Tapu Lele Wonder Tag. He could just be using this Guzma to get himself out of the active, maybe foregoing Venusaur as of right now.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. It's not clear one way or another what is best, but
Skyla's definitely one of those cards where it is perfect for getting you that one card you need, but when you need multiple cards, it definitely doesn't do as well as some of these other supporters.
Yeah, and it's also something interesting to be said for, like, if he gets the Venusaur out, the Rockruff is in play, so Lycanroc can knock it out and kind of double punish him, which is what he's going for here, is just getting the Rockruff off the board. You see, he did actually consider the Buzzwole. It seems like he switched his Pokemon before he was completely sure which of Andrews he wanted to target down, but he's just valuing keeping the Rockruff off the board.
All right, and there's the Gaia Blaster taking Harrison down to 3 prizes, and Andrew has his 5, but Andrew's board is looking a little bit more complete, especially with even the possibility of another energy coming down to Buzzwole to one-hit this Shining Genesect.
Yeah, Andrew can find another energy, take out the Shining Genesect, leave Harrison without a Venusaur in play, and then that N he has in hand also gets a lot worse as he's in that 3 prizes.
Wow, this Sycamore was great. He has the strong energy for the active and 2 Max Elixirs if he chooses to play him to even charge up the bench, but there we go. The first one, does he hit the energy? Wow, there's 3 strong energies. The last one is the fighting.
I mean, you can see Andrew's pace of play now. He realizes, wow, my opponent's really struggling here. I can actually do this. You know, the minutes are ticking down, but maybe I can get enough turns if I play quickly enough.
Yeah, like they already have 2 ties. They do not need another one. I want this win. I need to top 8. Here I go.
All right. Going back to...
It's interesting to see that he actually Knuckle impacted for the knockout instead of Absorption GX. So now he will be forced to Guzma next turn to try to attack again.
I think he's actually like mostly fine with that because he can just retreat into the other Buzzwole. Obviously he loses energy, it's not free, but it's not as big of a downside as it usually is now because he's had just such a good setup.
All right, and there you see all the supporters in Harrison's hand. And again, he's still stuck with the same dilemma from last turn, but now he's down all his energy.
Yeah, I mean, he just realized that kind of nothing has changed. He has the same amount of plays available to him. Looks like he is going to fire off that Skyla this turn, and he is going to go for that Ultra Ball, which I imagine will find a Venusaur.
All right, and Ultra Ball.
Ultra Ball being played, yeah. The shuffling isn't too relevant here. I think both players want to kind of speed things up as much as they can.
And there is Venusaur. Jungle Totem will now be active thanks to Rare Candy. And unfortunately for Harrison, all his energy got knocked out, so he has just the one grass in his hand, and he might be forced to attack with Tapu Lele this turn.
Yeah, he is going to be able to draw just 2 cards after he attaches with Abyssal Hand.
There we go, another supporter and another Venusaur.
Nothing you can do this turn.
Hand's not looking too hot right now. There's the retreat and an energy drive from Tapu Lele. 100 damage thanks to Jungle Totem.
And back to Andrew's turn. Andrew realizing how aggressively he needs to play.
Yeah, and the last turn he found that Octillery from the prizes, hits this second Max Elixir. So now this Buzzwole on the bench is charged up. Unfortunately, it is still 10 short from taking the knockout on this Tapu Lele. This is where you really look for a card like Regirock.
Does he actually have the Regirock in hand? I guess that's a Zygarde, actually. My mistake.
All right, so he does have the Tapu Lele Wonder Tag for the Guzma, so he will be able to get this Buzzwole GX out of the active spot.
And I have to imagine if you're Andrew here, so the intuitive play might be to take out the Venusaur and kind of keep your opponent off of their combo, so to speak. But did he take a Guzma?
I don't even think he took anything.
Oh, okay. So he might just have a completely different plan. It depends on the makeup of his hand.
Yeah, I think he really wants to get... Oh, there's a Guzma off the Abyssal hand.
Did you not already Abyssal this turn? No, my hand was big.
So now Andrew taking a little bit of time to actually think. It looks like time.
And there is the Sycamore. So he really wasn't looking for Guzma.
Yeah. Again, it's not the biggest cost. The Guzma would open up a play where you can take out a knockout on the Tapu Lele if he has a Regirock or a strong energy.
Yeah, so time was just called. Andrew is turn 0, meaning he only has this turn and another turn left to try to take the game away from Harrison.
Yeah, so I don't know.
So he'll be able to attach the strong energy and retreat, take the knockout on Tapu Lele. And then next turn, he'll have to Guzma, the other Tapu Lele, try to take the knockout.
Correct. That is, I think, Andrew's only line of winning here. Again, the game becomes different when time is called and you realize you can't just, you're not going for the long-term plan. You're just trying to win the game as soon as possible. So yeah, I think that's the only way that he can give himself a chance to win here.
And again, it comes down to not using Absorption GX the previous turn, forcing him to retreat this Buzzwole. That's 2 energy in the discard. But now the new one, fresh one comes up. Knuckle Impact will be able to take the knockout on the Tapu Lele. And Andrew would be just a Guzma away from taking this game away from a tie.
All right, so now that time has been called, Andrew's going to take a little bit more time to kind of slow
can breathe.
down. And yeah, you can realize that it's not like the clock is ticking anymore. Take some time to consider his options.
The one card in his hand that feels kind of like a trap is that Parallel City.
Yeah,
if you play that,
you cannot play the Parallel City.
If you play that and get rid of the Tapu Lele, you're really just getting rid of all your ways to take this game.
You can't actually. Well, I guess there's actually something to be said for a play where he can
put the red side onto his opponent.
Well, yeah, or knock out the Bulbasaur.
Oh yeah, like Jet Punch the Bulbasaur along with another Pokemon.
So there's that Absorption GX. There's a knockout.
There's Andrew's hand.
4 prizes remaining when he did that. We are now on turn 1. So this is Harrison's second to last turn.
Finally, there's the Lurantis GX showing up in Harrison's hand, but unfortunately, Fomantis is nowhere to be seen. And there's an N taking away Andrew's hand, putting it down to 2, but both players have Octillery, so it's kind of a moot point. End your opponent down to a few cards, try to hope they don't draw anything, really is kind of hurt by Abyssal Hand.
Yes, absolutely. So Harrison will have to take a knockout here in order to be able to actually win the game, which I don't know if he can do. He has no energy on board.
Yeah, his one out was if the Buzzwole was active still and it had more energy than like maybe a Tapu Lele energy drive. Right now, he's playing for that tie. He's like, I need at least 1 point from this game.
Yeah, so he realizes that and realizes that now the game changes quite significantly for him as he realizes that he needs to play in a way that makes him not lose, which is different from winning.
How does the math work with him hitting a lot of max elixirs? Because there is 4 energy on that Buzzwole.
I don't think it's very reasonable. I mean, he's doing 120. If he attached to the Tapu Lele, he'd do 120. So he'd have to hit a lot of max elixirs to get there.
And there's the Abyssal Hand. There was 1 max elixir, but nothing really else of note. It does not look like he will be able to take a prize this turn, and that means it is on Andrew to see if he can win this game or end up as a tie.
Yeah, I don't know what's in Andrew's hand, but he does have a good setup for potentially hitting that Guzma play, as he has the Octillery with the Floatstone on it. He can Abyssal Hand for a bunch of cards this turn.
All right, he does Ultra Ball for the Venusaur. If he has a Rare Candy in hand, it does take away the Jet Punch option from Andrew, and he does. All right, this is smart survivor play from Harrison.
Yeah, just doing everything he can to not potentially lose.
And there's the max elixir.
And yeah, he's empty-handed now. So retreats and
there's
passes the
Gaia,
turn.
Oh, Gaia Blaster.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I forgot that he could attack because he has the 4 energy. And now...
All right, does Andrew have the Guzma? He still has access to Abyssal Hand to try to draw into it. And thankfully, with the Floatstone on the bench, that's all he needs.
3 cards in hand.
There's 2 Parallel City in his hand as well.
Oh, no.
So yeah, he'll play the blue side on himself just to try to get rid of a card. And then there's also the option of playing Rescue Stretcher to shuffle in some Pokemon, but it's kind of a double-edged sword, because yeah, you get a card out of your hand, but you also put 3 cards in your deck that you do not want to see right now.
Yeah, you make your chances of actually drawing the Guzma worse. Especially as he can't, because of the full bench, not like he can Rescue Stretcher back for a Lele or something like that. All right, here we go. 3 cards.
Abyssal Hand, 3 cards. N, Brooklet Hill, Octillery. Let's spin the wheel again.
Second Octillery.
Only for 1.
It's close.
Can't play.
He's already played his stadium for the turn, so Brooklet Hill will not be able to get played. Rescue Stretcher does not get you anything. Now here's the time where, I don't know, maybe I do play it, because 2 cards does sound better than 1.
Yeah, it doesn't actually help, but I don't expect to see Andrew playing that, especially as this is his last turn of the game, so yeah, it doesn't matter in the long game at all either.
This whole game is riding on this last Abyssal Hand. There is the Rescue Stretcher putting back 3 Pokemon. Again, this is lowering his chances in the long run to try to draw, but he's like, okay, 2 cards does sound better than 1.
All right, here we go.
It is all up to this Abyssal Hand. Can Andrew find a Guzma to take the knockout on the Tapu Lele GX?
Andrew giving us the full sweat here.
For 2.
2 cards.
1, 2, no, there was
Lele
the Tapu
strong.
Lele, but with Parallel City now, he won't be able to bench it.
Yeah,
And there we go. The game will end in a tie.
Yeah, I think both players coming to the realization.
Now, again, Harrison does have another turn, but with the way his deck works, it is unable to take the knockout on both of these Buzzwall GXs, or even just like an Octillery and a Buzzwall.
Yeah, no way for him to take 3 prizes in 1 turn. And yeah, Andrew's just going to be forced to make an inconsequential attack. He used,
Yeah, he used Knuckle Impact last turn, so...
No, he used Absorption last turn.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what, I think that was the discussion
flip down
they
the
were having.
GX, yeah. All right, and there we go. Turn 3.
Is this the final turn?
Sometimes players try to...
Yeah, I think they're both kind of coming to the
represent,
realization. The upward turn hands are kind of the like, yeah, okay, we're just kind of
Like, I
struggling,
guess,
we can't
like-
really do anything. And the match is going to end in a tie. Unfortunate.
And there we go. Andrew's looking for his deck. He's like, oh, I still had a Guzma.
Yeah, he still had the Guzma, that's what he was looking for there, but looks like this match will end in a tie. Doesn't eliminate either player, but definitely not where they want to be.
Yeah, both players sitting at 27 points now at 8, 1, and 3. So they will still have to put in a little work to try to make that 32, 33 match point like area that you need to be for top 8. So it'll be interesting.